Happy Friday. You have no idea how super jazzed I am about this episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. We have a very special guest today. Her name is Rae Ripple. She is a metal artist, but she also does a lot of other things. You're a mom, which I relate to. I have three kids. And the one thing that I didn't know until I did a little bit more research about you is you're actually a motorcycle stunt rider as well too, which I think is completely badass. So, Rae, thank you so much for
Of
coming today.
course.
I'm super excited to share your story. You are just such an inspiration. And yeah, you're just a lot of fun to begin with. So, can you start off just telling us a little bit more about yourself? Who is Rae Ripple?
Well, first job title is a mom, of course. I got a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old going on 15 or going on 42 or whatever he is. You got kids, I'm sure you can
Yeah.
relate. And then, I wrote a children's book. I weld stuff. I ride motorcycles. I do a lot of things.
You also like fabricate motorcycle. Well, not like putting the whole bike together, but I saw on your Instagram channel how you got a new Harley, right? It's a
Yeah.
Harley.
Yeah.
And
It's a 2023 Road Glide Special is
you
what it is.
customized all of the parts on it. Like you did your thing to it and it made it your own. And I'm super jealous of your talent because that like is the best looking Harley I've ever. It's very. I don't want to like sound feminine, but I am because that's who I am as a woman. But it's very feminine looking, but it still looks like badass because you kind of aged it a little too with like a little rust kind of thing on it. It's super cool. I wish we had a picture to show everybody, but go to Instagram, follow
For
Rae.
sure. You can go
It's
see it on my Instagram. But I'm not a builder. Like, I'm not a bike builder
yeah,
by any means. Like, Harley called me, and like me and like a group of other people to like be a part of this lineup for Born Free. It's like they're trying to incorporate like the new, it's 120th anniversary, like a whole bunch of, it's all old choppers that are there. And so we're incorporating the new bikes, type thing. So when they called and was like, "Hey Rae, you want to build a bike for Born and Breed?" I'm like, did y'all dial the right number? Like, I'm not a builder, And so I learned a lot about. I mean, I'm an enthusiast. I wrench on them a little bit, like I know a little bit, but not to the degree of what it takes to build a motorcycle from the ground up. And so it was brutal. It was a lot more brutal than I think some of even my artwork. It was crazy, crazy,
it,
crazy. It's a whole skill to do that.
yeah. It turned out really great. Like I would buy a bike that looks like that because I like Harleys, don't get me wrong, I do, but some of the customizations on it, like one of the things you could do was, do like a pink or purple bike or something, but the way that you cut out the design in it, it's I think you did flowers on it. It's
Yep.
just really cool looking. And
I well, and I was trying to bring like the hot rod world because I'm so much into like hot rods and like the lace vehicles and like all of that kind of stuff. So bring the hot rod world into the bike world, I guess you can say.
yeah,
But two, I wanted you to be able to look at this and be like, yeah, Rae Ripple built that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I didn't want somebody to walk up to him and be like, man, who built this bike? And then they say my name and they're like, it doesn't really look like she did. But, that's kind of why I went with the patina and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's very similar to what you did to your truck.
Yeah. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
awesome. It's so cool. I want
Thank
the
you.
bike. It's just so
If
cool.
you
But
ever
we
come
don't.
out to Texas, you can ride it. It's in California. I mean, oh, well, not in California. It's in Milwaukee right now. So it went to California and then they took it and it's sitting, it's in Milwaukee at the Harley Davidson Museum, I think, right now. So
So I'm an hour away from Milwaukee, and I'm actually going there on Sunday for
wait a
lunch.
second. Does that mean you're going to be at Harley's 120th next week? Because if you are, I'm going to be in Milwaukee for Harley's 120th next week. You should go. You should go. You should go.
What I gotta check what days because next week I'm actually gonna be in Tennessee. But if it's the whole week, I
Yeah,
could
it's
probably.
literally 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out because I think I can go.
You
Yes,
should
this
go.
is
You should
awesome.
totally
Yes.
go. You should totally go. It's going to be a riot. It's going to be so awesome. There's so many different cool things going on. But if you go, I can go with you to the museum, and then we can go look at my bike together.
Yes, we can. Okay, I
That'd
will
be
have
so
to be
cool.
in touch with that's gonna be so fun. I'm gonna make this work. So then we do have a couple people on. We have Justin. He says, "Yo, I'm stoked to finally to be able to catch you live again." I'm stoked too. Thanks for joining. And then we have Kathy Ryan. I have to go check out that bike. Kathy, you would love it. It's awesome looking. Like it's just really cool. And then he said that bike is rad. It definitely is. If you guys are here
Thank
joining
you.
us, feel free to drop, questions in the comments. Again, this show isn't about me, it's about our guests, and I want everybody to be able to ask questions as well too. So it doesn't have to just be me. But Rae, one of the things that you said, like, you aren't a bike builder, but you like to take on challenges. Like from our previous conversation that we had, you're someone that gets things done. Like you set a goal for yourself and you're very resilient and you just go for it. You don't really ask too many questions. You figure it out on your own. You're a fast learner. And I think that's really a cool characteristic for somebody to have. And I want to get more into your story of how you actually got into welding and metal art because it was a journey for you. And I just think
Yeah.
it's so to like hear that story because you were doing a lot of different things. You were a single mom. So tell us a little bit more how your journey ended up to where you are right now with welding art.
So yeah, we had this whole conversation. It was like there's so many different elements to how I got here, and it seems like there's just so many dots here, but they all connect to this like one final moment that has kind of led me to this point. And so like I fell into welding, fabricating, art, all of this stuff by like complete accident, like just grand design of just going through chapters just like everybody else goes through chapters, you know what I mean, except for like it seems like we're failing in certain aspects, like when we go to attend something it just doesn't work out and we're not really sure why. Believe it or not, those failures are lead to something else, and so it's just like a bunch of these like failures, redirections that have kind of led me to this exact point. And now I'm doing this for a living. I was a waitress. I was knee deep in college going to school for sign language interpreting at a deaf school. I dropped the class, picked up a welding class. He slid me a book, and I was like, yeah, I'm super dyslexic. I am not going to read that. I just want to learn how to weld so I can build art. Not even build art for a living, to just build, like, is all I wanted to do. And so when he was like, no, it'll make you a better welder, I dropped that class too. And then I just started kind of watching hours and hours of YouTube of just like welding, what it is, what like basically everything you can learn on YouTube about welding. But I didn't have a welder, I didn't have access to a welder. And like when I was in the industry, it was back when there was no females really in the industry. Like you had to dig real deep, deep to find any women doing anything like this in the industry. And so trying to find somebody to teach me how to weld was like few and far between because nobody wanted women in the industry at that time. And I had a truck. It just grand design of the universe. I had a truck. It was a pile of junk, and it wasn't just because it was a Ford. And I needed to fix it. My steering column needed to be replaced. It was a 1989 F-150, and I didn't have the tools to replace it. So I go to my friend's shop, and he was welding and fabricating on a race truck at the same time I was doing what I needed to do on my truck to make it run, and just completely ignored this and was like, hey, can I try that? And he was like, have you done it before? And I was like, I weld all the time. And I had never welded once. And I just like, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the smell, the fire, the burns, like just everything. I fell in love with the way that metal melts together and like how some don't melt together. Like I just started it, and then it just kind of evolved, and over time it just like every job I had kind of already was in the men's industry, because at the time that I was learning how to weld I was transitioning from leaving the restaurant waitressing to being a tow truck driver. And like while I was towing I was still welding, and then after towing I left the the tow industry and decided that I wanted to be a firefighter. And so I, got accepted in the fire academy, and I was still welding. And it takes like, I really honestly, I know this is like a long drawn out story, but like, I think it takes just one thing for it to like, for you to like really figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And
Yeah.
when I left, when I was in the fire service and I left tow industry and decided to be a firefighter, I kind of, in this weird sense, put art always, art has always been on the back burner, but there's been always this like weird thing where art has always been so easy for me, but like everything else that I was doing was always so hard. Like towing was easy, but like for some reason getting into the fire service was just so hard. It was like the universe didn't want me to do it. They kept just pushing, art, but I just fire is what I wanted. And whenever I was in the academy, we had a fire extinguisher class, and I wanted to just make something out of them, and like taking fire extinguishers and cutting them up and doing all the things that I did to them like really caught on, which set the tone for what my work is now, because I did a lot of freehand plasma cutting on these fire extinguishers. And now, it just it's weird how like all these little transitions, had I not started cutting up fire extinguishers, I probably wouldn't be doing what I do freehand, plasma now. But even though the plasma cutter was the first piece of equipment I ever got, ever. And so I've been cutting up stuff since I got it. Like anything I can cut up, I would bring home stuff from the tow yard and cut it up. Like, I mean, it's weird. You just trust yourself. You trust your
Yeah.
chapters. You trust the path that you're on, and it always leads you exactly where you're supposed to be. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
when I promoted this post this morning, I actually mentioned the term courageous path, which I learned at an event in Chicago that I recently went to. And the keynote speaker, her name is Sheila V. Sheila, I'm sorry, I cannot remember how to pronounce her last name, but it starts with a V. She wrote a book called Brave. And everything that you're saying, so like women have a natural innate sense, like we have some psychic abilities, like call it women's intuition, call it instincts, call it gut feeling, whatever you want to call it. We have the ability to like sense things, and that's like women's intuition. And some of us ignore it because we're afraid of where it might lead to, or some of us might not even know what it is. And she talks about that exact same thing that you just described, like whether you want to call them failures or stepping stones to the next thing, we all have this purpose in life. And when we're not following what our true purpose is, we're always conflicted and feeling chaotic and this and that. And
Everything is chaotic.
yeah. And then once you find what your purpose is, you start to see and notice that things just naturally fall in place and makes things a lot easier. So, like you mentioned, yeah, these failures, but if you didn't go through each of those failures or steps, you would have never found like that true purpose of where you are today. So that's why I
For
mentioned that book,
sure.
because everything that you said lined up with what her journey was. And she calls it your courageous path. And like, just seeing signs of like, so when people like fail at something, what they should do is look at it from a different perspective and say, well, if this didn't happen, would I be where I'm at today? And it makes it better for you to accept like something not working out in your life. It's such a great book. I recommend anybody reading it.
But it's also the law of attraction, the law of thoughts. Like your thoughts, and a lot of people don't realize this because we do it subconsciously, right? We wake up, we stub our toe, and we're like, man, today is going to be a terrible day, And then you say that and you put that thought, which is an energy, into the universe. What happens? You have a shitty day, the whole day. That's
Yeah.
just how it works, right? The
Yeah.
law of attraction, that thought, the thought process. So your thoughts are energy, and subconsciously, in this stint of my life where I had to survive from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, like your thoughts are the energy that carries the next thing to you. So whatever you're putting into the universe, it comes back to you. So like, even though I was poor and like I couldn't hardly feed myself, and like everything that was the way that it was, I subconsciously was always thinking about what my next move was going to be because I
Yeah.
had to, right? And so, in a sense, those thoughts and that energy I projected into the universe and it returned itself back to me. And I finally got the money to pay my electricity bill. It may not be a lot to eat, but we do have 2 boxes of macaroni and cheese. We got $1.50. We can go get 2 boxes of macaroni and cheese and have Kraft macaroni and cheese for dinner. You know what I mean? Like, there's all these different things that when you put those thoughts into the universe, it comes back to you. Well,
Yeah.
throughout my life, too, living in the past and constantly thinking about the past, it gives negative energy. And so, that negative energy, if you let it consume your life, it will consume your life. And it took me really just putting myself in front of a mirror and really just paying attention to the reflection and saying, like, look, I'm done living my life like this. From now on, I'm going to give myself 5 years. I'm going to be a millionaire. It's not about the money. It's about the thought. It's about that energy that you're projecting into the universe. And so I've got one more year. I'm on my year 4, but I was so consumed with negative thoughts, and they were literally taking over my whole life. They were taking over my mind, my heart, my soul, my art, everything around me. It was consuming. And guess, my whole life was just chaotic. My whole life was negative, and I couldn't figure out why. It's because those thoughts are energy, and I was projecting that in the universe, and it was returning itself back to me. It's the same way when you change your thoughts into a positive thinking and you own it, those things come to you. And that's exactly kind of like how welding came to me, how the art came to me, how all of these different things, I was putting those thoughts out there and they were turning itself back because I was giving it the energy, you know what I mean? The positive energy. And so I think changing the thought process too, during the mix of all of these terrible things that are going on. If you change your thought process into something else, like you get a flat tire, right? You get a flat tire. Oh man, this sucks. My whole day is ruined. Well, maybe the flat tire is stopping you from getting into an accident that you were supposed to be in 10 miles up the road. So if you just start changing that thought process, even in situations where you're in survival mode, then it really shifts everything around you, and it starts bringing the good things to you. You start releasing the bad things, and the good things start coming towards you, if that makes sense.
I agree 100%. And we got some good comments. We have Joni who's here. I'm so jelly. And then David, super positive message. Awesome. Vince is saying very commendable to your story. And then we have Patrick, great example of how people just need a chance to follow their passion. A class or degree, certificate can't replace real world experience and passion. I agree with that. And then the universe conspires to give us what we need. Absolutely agree with that. Joni just had an experience with the cat universe.
Really?
She had a kitten. She rescued a kitten, and I think now she is keeping that kitten. She's posting it all over LinkedIn.
Oh my God, I love this. I love that.
And then I don't know who this is. This is such an inspiring conversation, but thank you for joining us. And then we have Nikki Truth. Nikki is part of Automation Ladies. They're a great podcast with Allie G. And we have conversations around this too. Like, you definitely need to change your attitude towards things. And one of the things you said before is you gave yourself 5 years to become a millionaire. I think that's important for people to do too, is set goals for yourself and set a time frame on those goals, because then you remain focused and you don't have time for all that other negative stuff when you have something to focus on. Mm-hmm. And then we have Sophia. That's how I live my life, with that thought process. So a bunch of people agreeing. So I want to get into the Netflix show that you were invited to. I think it was Netflix.
Yep.
Was it Netflix? Okay. Yep. And you started doing all of these artistic fire extinguishers, and then more and more people started reaching out to you, asking if you could do some stuff for them. And then Metal Shop Masters got in touch with you. How did all that happen? What was that experience like?
Well, I deal with what people call imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And with imposter syndrome, you always feel like no matter what you do, no matter how successful you are, no matter what you accomplish, it's just never going to be good enough. And so at that point in my life, I felt still very mediocre on the sculpture scale going into this. So I just want you to think about that whenever I was going into this. So I felt very small compared to what this was. And so at first, when I was contacted by them, I thought it was all like just like a scam, like it was like spam email. And then I finally, like after like the fifth one, responded, and I was like, oh, okay, this is totally real, right? And so when I said yes to doing it, I went feeling this big. Like I did not feel like I deserved to be there. I did not feel like the sculpture scale of what some of these artists on the show do and have been doing for years and years and years and years. Like Ivan's been doing sculptures his whole life. Like he's literally been an artist his whole life. Like same way with Lou. Like all of them have been doing this for so long. And I just fell into it by accident. You know what I mean? I fell into it by accident. I was doing this for a living, but I was new doing this for a living. Like I had just left the fire department. So I just finished up the biggest sculpture of my career, like the very first 3D, like huge install piece I've ever done. I just left the fire department. COVID had just happened. So I had literally just barely was like, all right, I'm going to jump and just see what happens. And then all of this, the world basically fell apart. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna have to go back to the fire department. I'm gonna have to you know. So like I was feeling tiny on the scale of what these people are, you know, every day in their lives. So when I said yes, I was like, all right, I'm okay with this being on one episode. That's all I cared about. And then I went. And then I made it past the first episode. And then I made it past the next episode. And then I made it past the next episode. And then before I realized I didn't have enough clothes. I didn't pack enough clothes. I didn't pack enough anything because I was determined I was going home. You know what I mean? After the first episode. Because I felt so small. But then also too, I really learned like what I'm capable of, which is something that I've always struggled with. And so being around other artists and doing things that I thought at home that like nobody does and it's wrong or whatever, I was seeing these other artists doing the same thing. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm totally like on the same track as them. But then too, when we were filming, it was such a high stress environment that like I had to dig in really, and I create with music, you know what I mean? So music is my muse. And if I don't have music, it's really hard for me to tap into that side of me and create. And so like, we know music, know nothing, like cameras upon people. And like, everybody is like just right here in your face while you're creating this. And the things that my hands did, I don't even know how I created some of that stuff. Like the things that like I don't know where it all came from. And then I came home and I was like, it was like I felt like a totally different person. It really like pushed me out of my comfort zone and showed me that what, you know, your body and your mind and your heart is really, really capable of. And so like my art, I came home and like my art changed drastically. Now I didn't win the show, which is fine. I'm totally okay with it. But I did learn a lot about myself, and so that is a win. So, but the show is great. The people are great. Oh my God, if you get a chance to watch it, you should watch it. Go follow all the other artists. Like they are all my favorite people on the planet, and met a lot of, you know, great connections. It changed my whole life for sure.
Yeah.
Like absolutely.
So in terms of like accepting a new challenge or a new project, how has that show helped you kind of like build your confidence in yourself? And you know, everybody when they do something, they kind of go through the pros and cons of like certain experiences, and then if they get asked, oh, would you do that again or not, like would you do something like that again?
Maybe not necessarily as a competition show. I have some stuff in the works for myself. so stay tuned. I can't talk about it because I got NDAs, you know, but
Yeah.
I do have some stuff in the works. Maybe not necessarily a competition show. I would do it again. I would do it again if this, like everything in life, like if it was presented an opportunity and they were like, hey, if you go back, would you do it again? Absolutely. As far as moving forward, competition shows are terrible. Like, not necessarily like the environment or whatever. It's just, there's a
They,
lot that goes into it. And for yourself, your mental, you know, health,
yeah,
everything goes into it. So, I
they
can
seem
tell you,
oh.
they what? Oh, yeah,
They
it's very
seem so
difficult.
stressful.
It is. It's very stressful. I can tell you though, since the show, had I probably not done it, I probably wouldn't have the confidence to build the armadillos and the bunnies and, you know, cut the cars up the way that I cut them up, because I cut the truck up after I came back from the very first car I ever
Oh,
cut up. I cut it whenever I came back from the Netflix show. And so, like, there's a lot of things that, like, I've never built before. And I'm like, you know what? I've never done that before. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, I would have never had the confidence to do that had I not done the show, for
So do
sure.
you still suffer from imposter syndrome sometimes, or do you?
Ah, every day, every day, every day. I can literally build something with my own two hands and like sit back and be like, I didn't build that. I didn't build it. I don't feel like I built it. Like, it's an everyday thing, but also it comes with, there's a price that comes with it to you, because you're, you know, it's imposter syndrome. You're your own worst critic, which affects your mental health. And that's where depression and anxiety and all of those things
Yeah.
come from. And I already suffer from PTSD and depression and anxiety. And so imposter syndrome on top of that is just, it's just the cherry on the cake, you know, of like all my problems. But that's where all the artwork comes from, you
Yeah.
know? So,
What?
I mean, it's good for the art. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, we are all struggling with something. And I think even on the days that you can't get out of bed, as long as you get up and you put your hand on your chest and you say, thank you for today, and allow yourself to have permission to take that day to just let your soul rest and let your mind rest, it helps. It helps. Like, there's days where I struggle with it a lot. And I think giving yourself permission to just have that day, we're going to start over tomorrow. Have your day,
Yeah.
have your moment, have your time. We'll start over tomorrow. And it really, truly helps in the future. Or like, it just helps with all the new onsets of imposter syndrome that come on, you know,
Yeah.
it's
I
your
think
thoughts, you know,
yeah, some of
thoughts are
the
energy.
one of the best pieces of advice that I got, because it's something a lot of us suffer from, and it's not just restricted to women either. Men suffer from imposter syndrome. Sure, they
Yep.
probably do a lot better job covering it up than we do. But one of the best pieces of advice that I've got was just embrace it. Like, it's okay to feel that way, because one, we're not alone feeling that way, and two, if we weren't doubting ourselves or scared somehow with what we're supposed to be doing in life, it means that we're not necessarily on the right track then. Like, when I started Mavens, for instance, I was scared as hell. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if people would be interested in this stuff at all. And one of my mentors said, no, being scared is a good thing. That means you're challenging yourself. You're forcing yourself to step outside of your comfort zone. So if you don't
Yep.
feel like fearful in some way, then you're not doing something right. So I thought that was a good way to look at it. So
For sure. Dude, if life doesn't scare the shit out of you, then why are you even living? I mean, like,
right.
it should scare. I mean, that's why I stunt right. That's why I do all the things I'm doing. Granted, if I don't keep myself busy, I get myself in trouble. But other than
Yeah.
that, like you should be doing all the things, because you know that saying, um, you only die once, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? You only die once, or no. You
You
wait,
only
how does it
live
go? Oh yeah, you only live once, right? You
you
only
only live
live
once.
once. They have it like backwards. Like, it's literally backwards. It's, you live every day, you only die once. And so, like, you should
Right.
make every single day count. So be scared. Go try it. Let it scare the hell out of you. And then You're going to feel so good about yourself after you're done. You're going to feel that, you're going to feel it all over you. That energy is going to just surround you. And then you're going to do something else and it's going to scare the hell out of you and you're going to do it again. That's how I do
Yeah.
that's how I got into all this stuff. Just being
I
scared all
was
the
gonna
time.
I was gonna ask you like what on earth like inspired you to do stunt riding because I don't know if I would be brave enough to do that. Like I think the scariest thing I've ever done was go skydiving and I fell in love with it. But to get on a moving bike like that and just stand on it like you do, and I don't have any balance. My kids knocked my center of gravity out of whack and I can barely walk in a straight line sometimes sober. So like what
Well, so do I. I'm so clumsy. I will trip over air all the time. I literally, even too, when I'm riding, like I do all this stunt stuff, and then I'll come to a stop, and I always drop my motorcycle. And so it's literally like it's just it's just things. But not to turn this into a TED talk because I can talk a lot, and I think everybody knows that. But like the it's funny when we're talking about mental health and we're talking about like finding a release, and that's kind of like what motorcycles have become for me. I started riding motorcycles for all the wrong reasons. Literally all. I wanted to be reckless. Like I didn't really care about my life. I didn't really care about what was going on around me. In a sense, like I don't mean to say this in the most vulgar, like I'm not trying to say vulgar, but like I honestly like was so fed up with life. I just wanted to die in a sense. And so when I started riding motorcycles, it was like, it's funny how you want to die when you're not on them and then you get on them and you don't want to die anymore. You know what I mean?
right?
So it's like, it's kind of crazy how that shifts, that energy shifts, it's all about your thoughts, and your thoughts are your energy. And so
Yeah.
being on a motorcycle, it shifts those thoughts and it turns it into a different kind of energy that I've never felt before. And when you suffer from anxiety, depression, PTSD, and things like that, like it's really hard to get those voices and those things and those lies that we tell ourselves to turn off. And so being on a motorcycle, it's weird. All of those thoughts go away. It's the only place
Yeah.
that I can go and nothing is going on up here. Like I can breathe a little bit. I can see a little bit. I can hear a little bit. Like all of the things that are just constantly clouded by all these outside thoughts. Like it just puts me in a place that I can like really, truly become one with myself. And
Yeah.
so when I started stunt riding, that's kind of like I was stunt riding a little. I mean, not really. I ride with a bunch of stunt riders too. So when you ride like a jackass or ride with jackasses, you got to be a jackass. It's kind of like one of those things. But the stunt riding came because of like it's such a freeing moment being on a motorcycle and what it does for you. And sometimes, standing up and letting go is like I feel like I'm flying. I don't know how else to explain it, but like, I just feel like I'm
Yeah.
in,
No,
in my own cloud, and so
I get
it's
that.
very empowering, like for
Yeah.
myself and my confidence and like, my inner child just eats it up. So like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
totally I totally get that. When I got my motorcycle license and my mom about wanted to kill me because she's just like, I don't understand why you wanted to get your own license. And I'm like, well, because all of my friends that I used to ride with moved away and I don't
Yeah.
have anybody to ride with, so I want to ride on my own. And there is something freeing about riding a motorcycle. So I could only imagine being able to do tricks on it is even more freeing. Again, I just
I
don't
can
trust my
teach you. I can
just
teach you. I can teach you. Look, I'm telling you, I got a motorcycle that's basically crash proof, because your girl crashes all the time. And I've got plenty of gear. I can have you standing on it like in an hour, like not even kidding. Because we have the airport out here. This is where we stunt on that like
yeah.
abandoned strip, which is right across the street from the fire department. And so there's instant medical attention. So you got either way. So you can
That's
literally, I
awesome.
can teach you. I got you. Like we wear helmets,
I
all
I
that
gotta
kind of
I
stuff.
gotta
So
I gotta think about that one. No, but it is like I think it's super cool that you're just following your life and living your best life, and I think more people need to do that. And I do want to get into your book as well that you wrote. And I want to share some of these comments because everybody's blowing up the comments now. Glad I could jump on for a few minutes to hear Rae's perspective on things. Thank you, Dale. Dale's a sweetheart. He brought me bacon maple donuts at a trade show once. So instant
Ah,
best friend.
hey,
Instant
if you
best
ever
friend.
want to bring me donuts too at trade shows, like I'm a donut connoisseur, so I like donuts.
Oh, they were so good. Justin said, being a full-time trainer, I'm most certainly an imposter. A LinkedIn user said, okay, I don't know what that was for. I love that perspective. And then the same LinkedIn user, I think, hopefully, Rae, what an inspiration you are. We are perfectly imperfect. And when we honor that in ourselves and others, incredible, almost magical things come into our consciousness. Love that you're challenging your limited beliefs. I don't know who this is, so drop your name in the comments so we can give credit to you because I like your comments. But I do want to talk about your book, When I Grow Up. How did that all start? What inspired you to write a book? I love the fact that you go and you speak to kids because I think more girls need to see women like you because we do set limits for ourselves at a very young age and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So I think your story helps them build confidence in themselves. I can't remember the statistic, but it's like at a certain age, it's either like sixth, seventh, or eighth grade, girls start to lose their confidence that they had before those ages. Whether
It's
it's
earlier than that.
okay,
I think it's literally like third, fourth, fifth grade. So that's like why there's a dream gap. You know what I mean? There's a dream gap for that somehow it was created, and I don't even know how it was created, but like little girls have all these dreams when they're like beginning, their lives, and then there's this gap that just gets put in between all of them. Every time somebody says, "No, you can't do that." Nope, you're not strong enough. Nope, you're not da 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 da. Nope, you're not good enough. And it just keeps growing. This gap just keeps getting bigger and bigger until they eventually abolish all their dreams, all their hopes, all their everything. And then they just become normal products of our society, which is exactly what, women like the normal norm for like a woman.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
not saying that you can't be a secretary, you can't be whatever, because I've been all of those things. So like I've
yeah,
literally, I was the norm. Like I became the housewife, the mom, stay at home with the drunk husband. I literally did it all. So I know I want these little girls to not have that. I want these little girls to know that you can literally be anything you want to be when you grow up, the most unapologetically way that you want to be. And there's not a single person that should be able to take that from you.
yeah.
Not
I
one.
agree.
Only you take that from you. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of that's what initially got it kicked off is no more dream gap. We're gonna close that. We're closing the dream gap.
So, what has the reaction been to the book? How have parents, families, communities, kids, even, how have they reacted to it?
Well, so the book was inspired by a couple of girls, even locally here, and then a little girl named Olivia who had made me a flower, and then later was wearing my hat at a PRI show, and my homie was like, "Hey, I got one of your little fans here," and she's like wearing my hat at PRI. It was so cute. So like, I had to do something. Like I had to do something, especially because little girls all over the country are sending me flowers that they're making in their dad's shops or with their moms or, like that kind of thing with family members, their grandpas. And then just now they're in my sunroom with all my plants. And so, like, that dream gap starts at such a young age. And so,
Yeah.
why not give them something that'll help close that dream gap? Because I remember reading books as a small child, thinking like, I could be a princess. I could be the damsel in distress and be rescued by the prince. And I could be the president and I could be astronaut and I could be all of these things. But also we could have welders in that category. We could also have drywallers in that category. We can also have electricians in that category. We could have mechanics, but also in a sense too, not just for females, but for guys too. Like
Yeah.
Bob should be able to make dresses and it'd be just fine. We should be able to
Yeah.
have male nurses and it's just fine. We should be able to have, all of the same things, manicurists, hairstylists, makeup artists. it's literally all the same thing. That dream gap for them also closes so early. Men also, because you have to, they think about, you know, I got to be a dad, I got to have this high paying job, I got to take care of my family, I got to da 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 da. So there's so much on both sides, but it starts somewhere. And so the book was birthed, and I did a lot of research on it. Like I did research on like illustrations, the age, like how it should be written and all of these different things. So if you open the book, it's a book, but a lot of the pages are illustrations that are very childlike, because I wanted to give kids a freedom to draw in it and create their own colors and story
That's
within the
cool.
story, because they're going to do it anyway. So why not give
Yeah.
them a little canvas to do it on? And it's a book. So if you notice, as a mom, you give a kid a coloring book, they're not going to color in the coloring book.
Right.
But if you give a kid a book, they're going to color in the book, right? But you're not
Everywhere.
supposed to color in it. Yeah, so give them the book that's not a coloring book, but give them the opportunity to color it like a coloring book. But like it holds that attention of creativity and
Yeah.
imagination. Like I wanted their imagination to go wild. Like I didn't want to give them an imagination, which I think a lot of illustrations not like trashing
No.
illustrators or anything, but like I think a lot of kids, when you read a book, it plants that imagination for you. It plants the image for you. You know what I mean? Because you see it in the illustration. I
Yeah.
wanted them to see a blank illustration, in a sense, to where they create their own colors. They create how they see it, all of that kind of stuff. And so I think that has gotten a great response. Kids are like coloring in it. I get like so many pictures all the time of little girls just coloring in it and like themselves and with welders and like all of that kind of stuff. So I've gotten great responses out of it. And of course, you get your negative responses, but you know, you can't please everybody. So either
Yeah.
you like, I had somebody who was like, this looks like a brochure, like a cheap brochure. Well, you know what? Your girl's dyslexic. Okay. So let me
Yeah.
just live my best life in my book. But
There, there's always a troll somewhere that has to come out from under the bridge. You just can't ignore.
100%. But the book wasn't created for them. The book was created for
Yeah.
Olivia. The book was created for the little girls at Estella's Cafe that helped, you know, kind of inspire this. This book was created for all the little girls that are going to pick it up and read it and decide that they can be anything that they want to be when they grow up. Now, I did not know that it has to be a hardback in order to be put in children's
Oh,
libraries. So if you're looking at creating a children's book, just know it has to be a hardback if you want to put it in public school
that's
libraries.
interesting. I didn't
But
know that.
I am going to re-release it in a hardback with, of course, because it's gotten like a couple of awards, and so I want to like put like, you know, presented by blah 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 and like all that. Change the, you know, the cover up, but keep all the inside the same.
Yeah.
But that way, kids have a hardcover. But I do have I'm working on another book right now. It's not a children's book though. It's actually going to be a book of all of my poetry, because a lot of people don't know that I write poetry, and so I am release. It's still in the works. I'm hoping to have it out by next year, but it's a book of all of my thoughts, like all of my poetry, and I haven't really decided on a name yet, but like it's basically going to be what you don't see behind
Yeah.
social media. So
That's
that'll be out
super
hopefully next
cool.
year.
Well, I'll look out for that because like we just became best friends. So I started
We
out writing
did.
poetry. I started
No
out writing,
way.
yeah, and I can't remember the last time. Like this was something I was having a conversation with my mom about because I used to write poetry every single day, and then when I got into college and learn about technical writing, that stuff kind of went on the back burner. So I haven't written any poetry in a really long time. So maybe now I need to start doing that again
Maybe
after
it's
this conversation.
time.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
it's time.
we are getting a bunch of other comments. So Stacy's one of the LinkedIn users from IMEC who his name isn't popping up. LinkedIn is weird sometimes. Dale said if you message him his address on LinkedIn, he'll drop ship you some bacon donuts.
Ooh, okay. All right.
And,
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Hallie said she needs a link to this book, so I'll drop that in there. But then Joni said that you're bringing some to AME, and we'll talk about
I
AME in a minute.
am.
And then that's probably Hallie saying she can't wait. And then Justin said, I'll be waiting impatiently for that poetry book. Me too, Justin. Like I love poetry. So now I'm gonna have to reconsider some of my schedule to get writing again for
You
poetry.
should.
But
You really should.
um I do want to talk about some of your projects because you have some really large ones that you've created. And I don't know if you can pick a favorite, but do you have a favorite and why would that project be your favorite?
Well, every project is like my favorite project while when it's finished. Not while I'm doing it, but when it's finished. Because while I'm doing it, I'm like, this is terrible. I need to quit. I'm gonna go work at McDonald's. I don't want to do art anymore. Like that's literally how it is during every single sculpture. And I'm building Armadillo #2 right now. I'm also building this really cool piano piece where a hand is going to balance in between the keys in a C motion. I don't how I'm going to do it. I don't know. I'm just
Oh,
saying, like, we do this one at a time, you know? And then
yeah.
I am working on a big project for Mexican Sugar. It's a restaurant that's opening up in Houston. So those are the three main projects that I have going on right now. But as far as like my favorite of all time, no matter what I do, any of that is got to be probably the metal wings or the plasma cars that I cut up. I really, really love doing both of those. I like making the giant, massive metal wings that are so unrealistic and like that are just, too heavy to even put on, like all of that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff. So I want to make more of that. So if you want to make more wings, you should hit me up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know Nikki Gonzalez, she commented on here earlier. She's from the Houston area. My sister used to live there, but she moved to Minnesota. But Nikki's there. So Nikki, if you're still listening in, make sure to check out that new restaurant because it's gonna have one of Ray's pieces in it, which is really
It'll
exciting to
have like all my lace work everywhere, and then I'm building this massive metal chandelier that's gonna hang in the foyer of it. That's gonna have all my lace work incorporated into it. It's gonna be pretty cool. I've never built a chandelier before either, so it's been on my
that's
list, and I finally get to do it. So
I'm super excited to see all of this stuff coming from you. Like you're a great artist. But I like edgy art and your art is edgy. So that's why I like it so much. So not next week, it's in August. August 9th and 10th, you're going to be at Grand Rapids, Michigan
I
for the
know.
Advanced Manufacturing Expo. So anyone in the area, make sure you register for that event because it is free, which is amazing. And Grand Rapids is a cool city. But what are you most excited about happening at that show? Like, what are
Oh,
you
just
looking forward to?
being around the people. Like I love people. I love humans. I love being around all those bodies and the energy and like listening to people talk and the stories and like I just love the humans. The humans are my favorite part of all of the trade shows or any of the stuff that I do. It's just
Yeah.
the humans. I can't wait to hang out with everybody and talk to everybody and also it's educational. Like I learn so much whenever I go. Like I think I know things as a fabricator or as a welder, and then I go to these trade shows and I'm like, I don't know nothing. so I learn, so I learn a lot, which is good. So yeah, I'm excited
So
about that.
in terms of that, and we have Danny Hill on here. Hi, Danny. Thanks for joining us today. Um, One of the things that you do, and you've done it way before you were even known as a metal artist, is you actually gave back to your community by going to schools and speaking to the younger generations. And you mentioned before that you want to close. You don't want that dream gap to keep widening and having wedges put in it. But why is it important for you personally to be one of the spokespeople for the next generation? Like why? Because when we talked before, and I don't know how personal you want to get with some of the information that you shared, but you said you felt like you had this responsibility, and I just wanted to see if you wanted to share that because I think it's so cool that because I think any leader in a certain area has a sense of responsibility and they don't want to let anyone down. But what is it for you that makes talking to kids especially important? Like why do you like keep doing that?
I think There's been a lot of there's been a lot has happened to me in my life, and I, because of those things, I've made a lot of decisions that I shouldn't have made, and done a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. And I have this weird responsibility. You put on the magic glasses, and there's a lot of obligations and responsibility that come with putting on the magic glasses. And I chose to do that, so that way, for one, the cycle ends with me. Um, Everything that happened before me will never happen again after me. 100%. Never again. And so, in order to also prevent everything from happening after me, I have a responsibility to give what I've done and the things that have happened to me to the world, so that way maybe at least one person doesn't make the same mistake I made. But also, had somebody come to me as a child and said, "Let me teach you something. Let me show you something. Let me, just let me give you this information, this energy, and you can be anything you ever want to be." My whole life, I've been told I'm never going to be good enough. I'm just going to be trash. I'm just going to be this. I'm just going to be that. I'm never going to make it. I'm going to be just like my parents. I'm going to, all of these things have been fashioned in my brain for so long that I made, because of those things, I made all these decisions that I should never have made. But also, I let a lot of people do a lot of things to me that should have never been done. And I feel like I have this responsibility to give that to these kids, to these people, to these humans, so they don't make the same mistake I made. Because there's a lot of kids that are in the same position I was in at that age. You'd be very surprised, like even as young as second grade. Like, I had this boy asked me, I spoke to 700 second graders, and you would think that second grade is all happy, loving kids.
Yeah.
It's not. There's not.
Mm-mm.
And there was this one little boy, he asked me a question, and I was him in second grade. I was him in second grade. He, for whatever reason, in a room full of those second graders, for some reason, the universe chose him to hear this message. And now, regardless of whatever happens in his life after that, it's his choice. Even as a small child, the choices you make affect your life later. But he is going to hear something within that, and it's going to carry with him forever, and not make a decision that I made because he heard me tell the outcome of what that decision is, or what happened to me. You know what I mean? He knows he's not alone. Like this, there's so many different aspects and elements. It's like an onion. You got to peel back a layer at a time. But these kids are like that. You know what I mean? And like things stay with them, and the things that people do in their lives that they did not give them permission for, they carry that responsibility, and that the aftermath of these things their whole lives, and it affects everything. I mean, I was abused as a child. I carry PTSD. I ran away from home as, at 14 years old. I did the drugs. I was a teen mom. I became the stripper. I left the strip club and went directly into an abusive relationship. All of these different things and elements of my life were because I was a product of my environment. I didn't have a single person there telling me, "Hey, let me show you something. Let me tell you something." And then it stops. And then those thoughts change, the energy around them changes, and their lives shift. You know what I mean? That's a responsibility. And if I can't take back what I've done, I can't take back what my parents have done, but I can use them all as tools to help prevent those things happening in the future for at least one person. That's why it's so important. You know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of people that don't talk. There's a lot of people that a lot of these issues that I went through were swept under the rug. We don't talk about them. They're just they're forbidden. It's like these are all very real things that are happening to our youth every single day, which is shaping our adults. And so those magic glasses, I put them on. I don't take that lightly. And that is where my heart's at. That's where, of all the things that I do, of all the things that like my hands create or whatever, these kids, these people that speak, this is our future. I have an obligation to help you
Yeah.
in our future, like, I don't know if that makes sense. I ramble up,
Yeah.
but it's
No,
obviously, these kids are my life. Like,
I'm so
you know,
grateful that you shared that. And I want to thank you for sharing that on here, especially because one of the things that I'm always trying to encourage people is, set up mentorship programs and collaborate with people who are really, I don't want to use the word as charismatic as an ingenuine term, but like people who are good at connecting with people right away and getting the trust of people. Because as you mentioned, nobody knows like some of the traumatic experiences that kids are going through, and they just need that one person to believe in them and give them that beacon of hope. And like mentorships are just so important for some of these kids to really change the path of their story, and they can do it. They just need people to believe in them and give them that inspiration. So
if we want to change in our future, and our future wants to change, it starts with them. It starts with the kids. It starts with every single one of them. Every single one of them. That's where our future and our change in our
yeah.
future is going to start. That's where the change in the tradesmen is going to start. That's where the change in the future jobs, our lives, everything around us, it starts with them. And so if we want that change, we gotta feed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. So thank you so much. I just admire you and respect you so much for sharing that. So thank you. And I have one more question, but I do want to get to these last two comments. Joni said you show little girls that they can be the beautiful princesses and get your hands dirty. My daughter told me she's so pretty and she welds. She's the coolest. I want to do that too. That's awesome.
All the dresses, all the welds, get it all.
And then Danny said passion, pass it on. And then Jetson said being a mentor is one of the greatest things anyone can do. It's good for the kids and it's good for the mentor as well. Yes, I believe that as well. So, Rae, before I let you go, if you had one ask for our audience, what would that be?
Like one, the final, like
Like
the
your
last
biggest,
thing.
yeah, like your biggest ask for our audience, what would that be?
Um, that you change your mindset from failures into just redirections. And when you do that, then your whole life will change. So your failures are not failures, they're just simply redirections. And so follow those redirections and it'll lead you exactly where you want to go.
I love that so much. Well, Rae, I want to thank you again for joining us. To everyone who commented in the comment section, thank you so much. This has truly been an inspiring story. I'm really excited to see you at the Advanced Manufacturing Expo.
I know. And
I
next
will
week?
I hope I can get it done for next week. I will be in Tennessee for a few days, but I think I can make Milwaukee work. So I will be in touch with you, or I will find you if it kills me. I will do
Yes.
that. I'm going to drop the registration link for the Advanced Manufacturing Expo in the comment section below. And don't go away quite yet because I do have a video from AME and it's featuring the Spot robotic from Boston Dynamics. And that is being sponsored by Gray Solutions. So stay tuned for that video. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Rae. You are awesome. Love you lots. And take care,
Love you
everyone. Talk to
too.
you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.